Hello, good morning, and welcome back to What I Consumed. I'm doing another one of these kind of like recap of media and routines and advice and things that I've gathered over time. So I did one for 2024, so that was the entire year of 2024, and I kind of just did it on a whim in an effort to coalesce things for myself. I like organizing my media. I think it's very satisfying. I did that video and people seemed to like connect with it a lot, and I just had a lot of comments and people giving suggestions, and a few people made their own versions of it and tagged me, and that was so sweet. This isn't something I'm coining, it's literally a Google document, so I don't own that. And Times New Roman, we're just going classic. But I'm excited to do it again. I'm thinking about doing it per quarter. I would do per season, but like I already did November and December for 2024. So I'm thinking quarterly feels proper. I think I consume a good amount of stuff in that amount of time. We're gonna get into it. Last time I said that I hate Notion, and I'd like to take that back because I've been using it almost every day. I still have some issues with it. I think the formatting, I think the text could be smaller. I want to be able to control more with the text as I can in a Word document. Here we go, 2025. Let me show the 2024 one I made. 2024, I kind of did it like this. I think I will be doing a similar format. Q1, so January to March. These are like things I want to see, not the things I saw. But I have been using Notion to log everything, but then I'm gonna go back and forth with this doc and do my favorites in each category. I think that's what I really liked about this format last time, is instead of going through everything, it was like, which few things would I recommend in each category. The last time I did this, I started with books. However, threefold answer. 1, January was very, very cold in New York, and February as well. Spring is here, we're seeing glimpses. However, it was a rough winter. 2, I was going through many life changes and a natural dip in my mood, very depressed. So I did not read as much. I think that I also do watch a lot of television during this time of year. Seasons kind of, and maybe this will kind of come up in the quarter by quarter breakdown. However, in the spring and summer, I'll read a lot because I'm outside and I'm traveling. And then in the fall, I get really excited about all of the Oscar films and the awards contenders, and so I'm watching a bunch of movies. In January, February, March, I do feel like I retreat into my shell and I watch so much TV. So I did see a good amount of movies, and there were movies that were kind of a part of the awards season that were after January, or I saw right around Christmas. So just to preface that will be at play. I didn't talk about these in my last video because I think I did it on like December 15th, but I saw a bunch of films that came out at Christmas and also like right after. So other ones I saw in December: Nickel Boys, Juror 2, A Complete Unknown, A Different Man, and then obviously this entire list. There's a lot of good movies on here, I think, but to give you the best, I am going to, first film I highly recommend is going to be Y Tu Mama Tambien, Alfonso Cuarón movie. Needed to get the accent on his name. I think it helps me to look up the Wikipedia for the genre descriptions of these films. So, a Mexican coming-of-age comedy drama road film directed by Alfonso Cuarón. It follows these two young boys. I think they're 17 in the film. They meet this woman at a family event. One of them's kind of rich, one of them's kind of middle class. They meet this woman. She's older than them, in her 30s, married. Something's like a little off about her, and they think she's beautiful, and they invite her to go to the beach with them. And this all takes place in Mexico City, by the way. The woman basically is amusing them, but then later down the line kind of decides to go with them. And then they go on this road trip together, and it's pure chaos and also kind of all these beautiful conversations and enjoyment. And you just see all these rural areas, and I don't know what region of Mexico that is. I should know that, but really beautiful cinematography, but at the same time it feels very real. A lot of the shots are super long. and you don't really realize that they're one shot because they're so long, but the dialogue moves so fast and the acting is like very, very raw and real and intense. And then there's a twist at the end that kind of makes you see the whole road trip in a different light. I won't give it away. This movie has been recommended to me so many times, and very satisfying when something that everybody tells you is great is, yeah, I got the accents right now. It's important to get the accents right. I think the second one I will throw in here is gonna be Nickel Boys. This is a Ramel Ross film. This film is based on a 2019 novel, and it follows two African-American boys who are sent to an abusive reform school in 1960s Florida. The director is also a documentary filmmaker. Incorporates a lot of archival footage in both abstract and literal ways that just kind of builds the emotional experience. A lot of it is also shot point of view from the character you're following, but the main boy you're following for the majority of the beginning of the film, you're seeing things literally through his eyes, so the camera's like moving. For some people it didn't work. For me it definitely worked, but it also is a little bit, we're not used to seeing films in that way, so at the beginning it does kind of disconnect you slightly, so be aware of that. But I think that the POV style in combination with the archival footage plus these kind of experimental sequences, like the three together, if it was just POV I think it would kind of feel like a shtick, but the three together really set it apart for me. Another old one I'll add in here, even though I saw so many new movies, is gonna be The Piano Teacher. This is I think that Y Tu Mama Tambien is also 2001. Interesting that I watched two films from that time period. This is an erotic psychological drama film, and it is written and directed by Michael, and then it's based off of a novel that I do want to read, but it's very dark themes, so I'm a little bit scared about reading the novel. It follows this single piano teacher who lives with her mother. She's very intense, teaches classical music. She has a lot of self-harm and sexual, like her self-harm is incorporated with her repressed sexuality. Begins having somewhat of an affair with a student. It's incredibly intense, similar to Y Tu Mama Tambien. There's these long shots, except they're very quiet, whereas in Y Tu Mama Tambien, they're very loud. The costuming and the framing of the shots is just, it's so French. And Isabelle Huppert's in it, and she gives a insane performance. There's so many women who give these, like Cate Blanchett and Tar, like I love that kind of performance. However, this feels like the blueprint. After watching it, I realized how many people are just doing what she does. I think that's good for movies. Let me talk a little bit about them. Those are like my top three. However, The Brutalist I have mixed feelings about. I think as it was really beautiful, but as time has passed, I feel less and less emotionally moved by it. Nosferatu, I kind of laughed during the movie. I thought it was kind of funny. And then I couldn't sleep all night. I saw Drop Dead Gorgeous, which I didn't know had Brittany Murphy and Amy Adams in. Basically like Best in Show, but a pageant. But I really do recommend maybe watching some clips of it. Oh, Sing Sing is a huge one I recommend as well. Yeah, I think that completes movies. Let's do TV shows. Okay, prefacing with what I said before, I watched a lot of television, don't judge me. I love television. I think because I love actors and I love acting, when I get to sit with a performance for longer, it's really great. Because it literally won't even fit on the page. This is everything I watched. I put here the ones that I'm watching that have episodes left. Okay, this is a little bit easier because there's a lot of stuff on here that I did not like. We are going to start absolutely first and foremost with Adolescence. I watched this just recently. I feel like everybody's heard about it. It's on Netflix. The other creator on this, I need to know his name, is created by Jack Thorne and Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham, I know from Billboard Empire. He's in a bunch of stuff. He's a very famous British actor. I feel like we don't know him enough in the US, especially after seeing this. I will just say flat out, like, if you don't want any spoilers, if you're going to watch it, skip the description. Like, will not give anything away, but I just think it's better to go in blind to this show and go in without expectations. But it follows a family and their child who's 13 years old who is accused of murdering a girl in his class. Each episode is an hour and it is one shot. It's not a whodunit. It doesn't feel like a true crime show in the ways that it sounds like it is. It's much more of an exploration of toxic masculinity, the rise of conservatism, male podcasts, incel culture, and the effect on young boys, which I think is something we are trying to talk about, but we don't really know how to talk about. And it puts you in the headspace of a teen again. And oh my God, I feel like as an adult, you're always like, oh, I wish I was a kid again. I wish I was a kid again. And there's this one episode where they're in a middle school. It is scary. That's like above and beyond, like probably will be the best thing I watch all year. The second one, I have a few on here. Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon. I wasn't gonna watch. I was like, it just felt kind of commercial to me. I don't know, just kind of fluff TV. And then I watched it. Oh my God, no. It's so fantastic. It was just not what I expected. It was nothing like the movie at all. The humor revolves around, being in like a long-term relationship, except on top of it, they're like killing people. So it's quite funny. Both of them are great together. And I am a bit bummed because I don't think that they're going to come back. I think it's going to be an anthology series, which I think is for the best for it. I think it's a really fun show to watch with a friend or a partner. So as you can see here, I had a moment where I usually hate true crime. It freaks me out. Actually, it doesn't scare me that much, but I just think it's careful. Like, I try to be careful about how much violence against women content I'm consuming. I also just didn't know anything about JonBenet Ramsey. So, Ride, Benito Skinner was talking about how we're so hardened to the world right now, both politically and just like with the media we're consuming. He said that, I forget what the quote was.
So numb to everything. It's actually crazy. I watched I watched the JonBenet Ramsey thing for 6 hours and I was just stone faced the whole time. Like I was eating Greek yogurt while watching that. Like that's where we're at as a society. I'm scared.
So I don't recommend that at all. Love Island this season was just kind of, the All-Stars season was just okay. Apple Cider Vinegar, I feel like everybody watched. It was very jarring, the way that it was filmed, but it made sense to me for the content. I kind of did really like Silo. It's this sci-fi show on Apple TV. I think if you like that kind of stuff, it makes you ask a lot of questions, but it's not like Severance. The questions will be answered. Day of the Jackal was really excellent. I'm not really into spy stuff. This is an assassin show. This one was British, so it's extra good. Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. She's like the agent trying to find him. He's this assassin. I think I like stuff that kind of bridges that gap between super satisfying and also feels a little bit higher brow. I would say Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Day of the Jackal are both in that category. Like, you're gonna just feel cozy, but also a little smart. I watched Survivor season 20. Really good. Everyone says that's like the best season. Both Yellow Jackets and White Lotus season 3. They both have a few more episodes. However, Yellow Jackets this season I've been pretty disappointed in. It feels like it's collapsing on itself. I'm just so much more interested in the girls 97 in the Forest timeline. White Lotus I'm enjoying. I think it's getting somewhere. The finale might be insane. But it did just have a bit of a slower burn for me than the other seasons. I know people are saying that is untrue and all the seasons have had a slow burn, but I just felt like the tension was a bit more palpable even if nothing was happening. Abbott Elementary, I love that show. Very comforting hanging out with those people. Severance season 2, I was really disappointed by as well, to be quite honest. I kind of felt like the mystery box of it all is also collapsing on itself slightly, not as terribly as like a Yellow Jackets, but my patience was really wearing. I didn't feel emotional payoff for these characters and their relationships because the rules of the worlds are so unclear to me. And also, all 3 of these are not tons of seasons. I would say all of these are like one season. Adolescence is only 4 episodes, so. Last thing about Adolescence I'll say is that episode 3 was by far my favorite. Erin Doherty. She plays a therapist who has to clear him. Wow, it's just one location and it's just so good. So good. Okay, we are done with movies and TV shows, and we will be moving on to books. Like I said before, I did not read as much as I could have been. So I only read a few do really recommend The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, Carson McCullers. And then I read Jazz by Toni Morrison. I really enjoyed both of these. This is my first Carson McCullers book I've read. It was a bit of a slower burn, but in a way that I really enjoyed. And then Jazz, this is the third or fourth Toni Morrison book I read. And I want to read more of her books. Her prose is so beautiful, and she kind of wavers in between these dreamlike states, or the ways that things flow in and out of each other is just not the same way most people write. And it's so beautiful, but it can take a little second to like clue in. I think your brain kind of gets used to it as you're reading, and sometimes you need to, it's almost like you need to let yourself get distracted, and it feels a bit more meditative of a reading state, which is why I really enjoy it. But after I finish one of her books, I just want to go straight into another one because I'm in the state, and so I feel like I am absorbing more of the novel. I've been getting a lot of book recommendations from my friend Amelia. Does a set of book recommendations for a magazine I work on, and so I've been reading, every time I've read one of her, I did Demon Copperhead, and then it made it on this list, and then Jazz, and I made it on this list. Yeah, so she's just been doing these, she'll recommend 3 books every other month, which is so manageable, and kind of to like choose from that, and usually one is nonfiction, 2 are fiction. Podcasts. I think the thing about doing this is that like some stuff isn't gonna have changed. I feel like I'm listening to a lot of the same podcasts. The one that I forgot to rec, which is probably the one I listen to the most attentively, would be Little Gold Men, which is a Vanity Fair podcast. It really tracks from festival to award season to the Oscars. I've listened to other movie podcasts before, but I think the thing I really appreciate about this podcast is, one, how smart the hosts are. They approach films with so much generosity. They just provide really good perspective and things I didn't quite know. I feel like I've learned so much about the industry just from listening to that podcast. When I listen to this podcast, I feel like I'm at a cocktail bar. There's piano playing. It's great. I'll plug that one if you like movies. And then theater, I saw a good amount. I think Liberation at Roundabout, that is, I just looked up Liberation. Scary when you look that up. I will say, based off the marketing of this show, I was not interested. I was like, this looks like a feminist play nightmare. I mostly read my theater reviews on Vulture, so I almost am always reading on here, and Sarah Holdren's my favorite reviewer, and she posted an article that was like, this is my favorite play of the year. And so I immediately went and saw it, and I loved it. Bess Wohl, the playwright, her mother in real life was a part of there were all these women's activist groups across the country. The main woman, she's an actor in the play. It's not actually Bess Wohl, but she is acting as if she is Bess, and she's like, I'm the playwright, and so in order to investigate what happened, I'm going to become my mother in these scenes, and we're going to kind of like investigate what happened and how did we start with all this activism, and how did so much change happen? How did we slide back? How have we lost Roe v. Wade? Let me see what Sarah Holdren said about it. Liberation is the best play I've seen this season. Yeah, it takes courage to attempt a play like Liberation, the courage of sincerity and imperfection. In our age of self-kneecapping carefulness, Wohl both takes risks and dramatizes the moral dilemma of taking them. Yeah, I felt really fired up. It made me literally want to go to a protest. I specifically loved No, Please God, No, Never Mind, I'm Fine at Here Arts Center. That is my friend Serena's solo show, and I think she's going to bring it back, and it's going to be in LA. So if you're in LA, YouTube. I don't feel like there's anybody new that I'm watching that I like really deeply feel like I should share. I'm trying to think if there's anything. The Haim Relationships music video, which my roommate showed me. I love Haim. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Come for me. I just love them. I love their music videos. I think they're so fun. I actually went down a tear of just watching all their old music videos, and when they're all 3 walking together, it feels like summer is coming. The song's great. The video's great. Give that a watch. Oh, you know what? This wasn't even in the past 3 months, but I really do like the Architectural Digest New York videos. Oh no, it's not like people though. It's like history. This guy. All these like secrets of New York videos. I went down this rabbit hole. This one's really good. The one about the subway. Completes media. The last time I did this is like the other section. I think I'm going to combine, I think I'm just going to put it all together because there's less stuff to recommend this time around. I actually was just embarking on this like yesterday. I've done it a few times, but I'm trying to get even better about it. I've been dealing with hormonal acne that was basically brought on, I'm pretty sure, by stress. However, one of the main things I've been recommended was to check all my products for pore clogging ingredients. And I tend to buy stuff that's like very simple, pretty clean products. I didn't really think that I needed to check. Basically, I just like highlighted all the pore clogging ingredients and then put them next to the names of the things. I had been recommended an oil cleanser by an esthetician, and I really loved the oil cleanser. However, when I looked it up, it had quite a few things in it that I'm like not really that excited about. If something works for you, you don't need to worry, and if you don't have acne, you don't need to worry, but if you do, maybe just take a look. I'm trying out, and I'm really enjoying the Lady Gaga Beauty Concealer, and then applying it with a teeny tiny brush. The other thing I've been kind of getting back to is I like to make my own stuff sometimes, whether it's a beauty product or house cleaning products. And I recently bought a scrub from the store because I didn't want to make one and I was feeling lazy. And then I started using it and remembered that when I make my own scrub, it's 100 times better than the store-bought. Exfoliant to liquid ratio is better, so it's like so exfoliating. So I highly recommend just making your own coconut oil and sugar scrub. It's so cheap, and you really don't need that much coconut oil in it, like a lot less than you would think you need. You can do that. You can also do it with coffee grounds. It makes your shower a bit dirty. I will say I've tried that. And then the other thing for cleaning supplies, I've made my own laundry detergent, my own dishwasher detergent. The laundry detergent I liked, except that it was a powder form. I don't think my washer liked it as much. I think it's better to use a liquid, so I'm back to that. And then the dishwasher detergent would sometimes not work. But the thing that always works is a homemade all-purpose spray, and that is just vinegar, water, and essential oil. And it's kind of nice because you can do whatever essential oil you want. So if you want it to smell like Aesop, you just look up what essential oils are in my favorite Aesop candle, and then you buy those and you go. Time for the advice section, guys. We're at the last section. This is so exciting. So the last time I did this video, I did a bunch of TikToks that I had saved and then a piece from a book that I had spoken about earlier in the video. I have been on a TikTok like detox for, that sounds crazy. That's a TikTok detox. I guess it's been 2.5 months now. I have gone on occasion for like max 15 to 20 minutes. We'll check in occasionally. Sometimes it makes me feel really old to not be on it because I do feel like I miss, I don't know, some things. However, overall, I feel way better. I think there's a lack of chatter in my brain, and sometimes I do find myself seeking that out through television or through podcasts, but I would sometimes rather watch a piece of trash television than have 200 people's opinions in my head on a random Tuesday. I think that was my favorite thing about TikTok, was like the philosophical conversations on there. This one. Yeah, so I have been reading Haley Nauman's writing since she wrote for Man Repeller and I was in high school. So I feel like it's been a long time of reading her writing and very cool to see her grow. She started a Substack very early. Her essays are incredible. This one I really appreciated over the past few months. Basically, she's on a trip in London and she had this pit in her stomach and she could not get rid of it. And she goes through her entire day where she ends up talking with a bunch of friends about it and just trying to analyze it and it doesn't go away. They're at dinner and she suggested I try a different tack. She told me to pay close attention to the physical sensation of the pit. Invite it in, tell it to grow bigger. I closed my eyes, directing my attention to my stomach, where the pit churned warm and angry. I invited it to flood my whole body, take control. I felt it seep upward into my chest, then into my throat, and finally I burst into tears. The waiter came up just then, shifting the energy, and a moment later, when I was wiping my eyes in disbelief, I had no idea what had happened, or why I'd cried, or what was wrong, but the pit was gone. I never considered that it was possible to fully move through and process an emotion without ever identifying what it was. Rather than accepting the pit at face value as an emotion in its own right, I'd moralized it, then set out to solve it. Turn toward the feeling, and it's somatic therapy, basically. But she's just a great writer, and I think I tend to try to talk through things. I'm definitely a verbal, because I'm like, ah. But I definitely work through things verbally. But sometimes that's just not what needs to happen. So I definitely suggest the Substack as a whole, and then also this one in particular. My sister sent me this article from The Marginalian, which I don't subscribe to. I have no idea what this is. This is by Maria Popova. I was going through a really tough time in January, and there was a lot of change happening in my life. And I read this quote that she quotes from Robert Ranulph Marais, who died in 1943, a pioneer in the study of evolutionary origins of religion. And he has a bunch of great quotes in this, but he said, "The organism needs to lie dormant whilst its latent energies are gathering strength for activity on a fresh plane. It is important, moreover, to observe that so long as there is growth, the fresh plane is likewise a higher plane. Regeneration, in fact, typically spells advance, the pauses in the rhythm of life helping successively to swell its harmony." I loved that. So long as there is growth, the fresh plane is likewise a higher plane. I think it's a really good thing to remember when you're feeling low. So I had screenshotted that and had it as my phone background for, I think it still is. That is crazy. Just I'm really recommending this one. No, it's normal like the other ones. And this kind of made me think about something that, this is a quote from a long time ago. However, this was Michaela Cole's acceptance speech at the Emmys for, I think it was for writing her show I May Destroy You, which is excellent. But she said this, and it kind of reminds me of the regeneration and a higher plane quote. "In a world that entices us to browse through the lives of others to help us better determine how we feel about ourselves, and to in turn feel the need to be constantly visible. For visibility these days seems to somehow equate to success. Do not be afraid to disappear from us for a while and see what comes to you in the silence." I think I spoke about this a little bit in the last one about relevance and the need and desire to maintain relevance. This quote, I think, also speaks to that a bit. Power of disappearing for a while and seeing what comes to you, I think especially creatively, but also just personally. I think we have a good list here. Thank you for watching this video with me. That completes 2025 quarter one. I will be back with another in end of June, I guess, for a nice spring proper recap going into summer. Hopefully some more books in there. Let me know if there's anything I should check out before I do the next one. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I can't believe you watched this whole thing. So, bye-bye.